So good morning, Sabal Khair, Namaste to all who has joined from Middle East and India. Today, we plan to present a complete solution for your robotic process automation needs with Automate. But before I go on to the agenda, a few guidelines. There are 2 polling questions where the time is 30 seconds. If you submit without a choice, the result will come under the no answer. We have muted all lines considering the volume of registration. So please send in your answers on the chat to all panelists, and we shall read them out if time permits and give you the expert answers. At the end of the session, when you log out, there is a survey. Kindly submit the same. Next slide, please. So the agenda for today, we have the presenters, an introduction to Bulwark, the Automate Journey overview, and practical live sessions, demonstrations, and workflows. And last, the question and answers. Next slide. So these are your presenters for today. JC Pearson, the product manager RPA for Bulwark Technology, that is myself. You have Gideon Wilkins, who is the EMEA partner manager for HelpSystems. And Keith is unfortunately taken ill, and we have Ray Sutton, who has just filled in for him today morning. Thank you, Ray. Also from HelpSystem, but he is from the APAC region. Next slide, please. Introduction to Bulwark. It's an award-winning specialized cybersecurity value-added distributor in the region. We have started our operation in 1999, celebrating 20 successful years of cybersecurity excellence in the region. We will represent 22 plus vendors and their complete product and service portfolios. We are operating in the Middle East countries and India. We have over 700 partners across the region. We have partnered with HelpSystems since 2014. We have a dedicated sales, marketing, and technical team. We have HelpSystems certified technical engineers in our team. Next slide, please. Over to the polling questions. So you can see the polling questions on to your right. So what is the main goal in determining the RPA success? Is it based on the hours saved, the cost reduction, meeting up with compliance and risk, or errors reduced? It's a multiple choice question. You have 30 seconds, so please send in the poll. So we are just waiting for the answers to come in. Yes, so we have 32% saying that it's on hours saved, 26% saying for cost reduction, 24% saying they want to meet compliance and risk, and 26% on the errors being reduced. And 50 of them has not answered. All right. So over to Gideon. Next slide, please.
Yes, good morning, everybody. Gideon Wilkins here from HelpSystems. JC, thank you for that introduction. I'm just going to take a few minutes here just to give you a very high-level overview on HelpSystems. So, you know, it's our mission that we believe that we are able to help companies to build a better IT. We also fully understand that it's a journey that we believe is worth taking. So we believe that there is a better, less complex approach to IT. We fully understand the landscape today where there are thousands of products all overlapping, all claiming to do the same things. And the biggest challenge to most organizations today is not only trying to choose which product to go with, but also how to integrate all these products together. And, you know, even if you decide, well, I'll go to the biggest supplier, then you're actually still buying, in many cases, multiple products that have not actually been fully integrated. So it's a real challenge. And we believe that, you know, it should be less complex. We're also strong believers that all companies should have access to, you know, the quality of business tools and security solutions that historically have only been available to extremely large global organizations. So, you know, we believe IT should be usable and not so complex that you need to be, you know, certified programmer to be able to implement and manage tools going forward. So all in all, we believe that we should be able to create and sell software solutions that are, you know, suitable for large enterprises, but aimed actually at the mid-market. So from a commercial perspective, certainly from a user ease of use, and from a simplicity to deploy and rapidly getting to the benefits that are promised by the software. So we focus on the areas that we believe that we can improve and simplify. We are not trying to be, you know, a one-stop shop for all of your security and automation solutions. We just don't think that being that big is actually beneficial. Slide, please. So what are we? Well, we're a 35-year-old startup business, really. We're headquartered in Minneapolis in the US. We have about 900 employees, and we have over 18,000 customers worldwide. We turned over about $260 million in revenue last year in 2019, and we have solid business plans that we are executing against even in 2020, where we expect to be $575 million by 2023. One of the key things to our success is our ability to support our customers. And, you know, the fact that our average tenure of support staff is 9 years and plus is down to the fact that we provide a really nice working environment and a great company with strong ethics and morals, but far more importantly, that we keep challenging them with new and exciting software solutions that they really enjoy. Slide, please. So we said we focus, and indeed we do, and this probably simplifies it as much as we can. We focus in two key areas. Clearly, we focus in our cybersecurity area, and within that, we specifically focus around data security, identity and access management, and infrastructure protection solutions. But today we're talking about our automation, and that's the other focus that we have. And we have three flavors of it. Today we're talking about robotic process automation, but we also do workload automation at the back end as well as infrastructure automation. Slide, please, Ray. Now, one of the ways that we're growing as a company is that we're incredibly acquisitive as an organization. We spend a lot of time looking for new, exciting technologies that fit into one of those two pillars, either in the automation front or in the cybersecurity front. And we actually just completed our 29th and 30th acquisition of companies since 2006. We acquired both Titus and Bolden James on the same day a couple of weeks ago. And actually, even since then, we've made a public announcement of looking to acquire GlobalScape, another RPA solution to fit into our portfolios. Now, that deal's not done. It's going through the process, but we hope to have that closed within the next 90 days. So in addition to our organic growth, we find the best technologies that fit into our strategy and we're hungrily acquiring them, and we think that there'll be a couple of acquisitions before the end of this year as well. So thank you very much. That's a slide, Ray.
We have another polling question coming up on your organization's RPA journey. So get ready, that is just 30 seconds. You have to tell whether it is just started on researching RPA, or have you identified opportunities? Are you evaluating or piloting an RPA solution, or already implemented RPA and measuring its success, or expanding and scaling? 17 seconds, I think it's done. And waiting for the results. You can see the results on the right-hand side. All right, so we have 10% just getting started, identifying opportunities at 15%, and so on. So we hand over without further ado to Ray Sutton, who's our technical expert. Over to you, Ray.
Thank you, JC, and thank you, Gideon. I hope you guys can hear me okay. My name is Ray Sutton. I'm a technical consultant based out of Perth in Australia. And I'm just going to take you through and walk you through some of the RPA. Some interesting results on the polling. So I'm just going to leave the polling question just to cover a few things on here. The majority of you guys are obviously just looking at getting started with RPA and also looking at identifying opportunities for RPA. So it's probably good to consider what your journey is, and you're at a good time to actually review that. I mean, obviously, with the changing world that we live in at the moment, it's obviously becoming more and more prominent around the journey for automation and how you can quickly get automation and quick wins. I'll just go into my slides. I just wanted to follow with that. We're saying when we did this poll last year, pre-coronavirus, a lot of the journeys was about establishing the automation centers of excellence and so on and so forth. What we're now seeing is, since the coronavirus, is more of the quick wins and how you can quickly get your automation journey started. And we at HelpSystems, as we go through this presentation, you'll see what we've done to work with the market as well, with the changing conditions that we're in. I mean, as Gideon mentioned, you know, we pride ourselves on a support structure that we have, and obviously working with our partners to make sure that we provide tools that are not only relevant, but in a changing marketplace, especially that we've got at the moment, that they also fit in that journey as well. So with that, what are the 6 steps for your RPA journey? Well, we've got to go through these in stages, but effectively we've got to learn about what RPA is and what it's not. How do you identify the RPA opportunities and select your use cases or define your success criteria? And what do you do for a pilot and measuring and expanding and moving forward? Okay, so we're just going to cover those 6 points first. So the 6 points really around learning. First of all, we've got to know, what is a bot? When people talk about bot, what are they talking about? Well, bot generally is the task that would normally be performed by a human. So if you're doing interactive work, then this will be classed as like attended automation, or so things like moving your mouse around the screen, or things around those sort of things as well. Or if it's things that run in the background, we call that unattended automation. So you have your attended and your unattended automation. So what's the good thing about using a bot? Well, the best thing is obviously they can work 24/7, 365 days a year, and you can actually control what they actually do. So once we've learned what that bot is, how do we then move forward? Well, we have to identify. So what's a good characteristic of a good RPA project? Things that are repetitive, things that are rules-based or high volume or prone to human error. What we mean by those is repetitive tasks, things that your staff or people may do on a day-in, day-out basis that are not necessarily they're an important function of the work, but they can be seen to be just a simple, you know, a form comes in, a form goes out, a form comes in, a form goes out. And if you've got a high volume of those, for example, invoice processing or anything around a financial system, of course, that's a really good fit for an RPA project. And obviously prone to human error. Now, we're all human, as we know, and mistakes do happen. So being able to isolate and maybe identify those would be a good way of identifying your journey. And then the step 3 is to select that use case. So really you want to sort of be able to provide measuring of things like time saved, the accuracy, the cost, the implementation, the configuration, and the deployment and the testing are all part of that success rate. You've got to be able to work out whether the RPA journey and your use case that you have makes sense and will focus on freeing up people, or will provide a good return of your investment into RPA, and it's everything that you've got covered in those. The step 4 is the pilot. So really what we're saying here is once you've considered your journey, then you really do need to look at the solution for your organization. And obviously simple questions in there. Is the tool easy to use? As Gideon mentioned in there, we try and pride ourselves that our tools are easy to use. We have very much a drag and drop interface, which you'll see as well. How quickly can you become fully operational? Now, as I say, that's becoming a bit more of a major question these days with the the changing environment that we live in and the change of the world that we live in. What about the support you receive? From a point of view from HelpSystems, we have a 24/7, 365-day support infrastructure. And as Gideon mentioned, we've got 25 offices across the world, to actually allow that process to happen. And also looking at the one-time costs or ongoing costs associated with the tool. So that's really looking at the licensing, how the tool is licensed, whether it's by bot or per studio or per device or whatever that is, that needs to come in as a factoring of there. And I'm sure you'll see with our solution with Automate that we can significantly save some costs in there for you. The step 5 is measuring. So again, looking at step 3, where we said you need to create your success criteria. Step 5 is looking at how you review those results. So you're going to compare them against time saved, the accuracy improved, the human errors that we were talking about, and the changes in productivity. So in other words, there's some benefits to be had by taking your high value employees and giving them more work to do, but giving them more strategic based work to do. And of course, you must measure your return on investment. There's no point getting an automated solution that costs you 3 times what it currently costs you today to run your business. That just doesn't make any sense. But it's not just the software. There's things to consider as you automate more processes, and also the ongoing maintenance as well of that product and that solution, and your staffing cost as well. And of course, step 6 is how you're going to repeat those steps to actually increase your ROI for your RPA software. So now let's have a look at our automation journey. Okay. So with our enterprise RPA solution for Automate, we generally will get 5 times the value out of that solution. So the first part is no code. Unlike the biggest player, we are simplifying the bots available to encourage bot usage wherever it makes sense and for whoever it makes sense. Bots can deploy as attended or unattended, as we say, and can run multiple task executions concurrently. With no throughput restrictions, this allows the users the flexibility to create bots and workflows that work best for them without being constrained on the type of bot execution. Nor do we require additional investment to add functionality, such as Exchange server bots. We build with what we call the citizen developer. Without jeopardizing power, our bots are simple to use, no coding is required. Both technical and citizen developers, which is your business analysts, if you will, can start creating bots immediately by leveraging our 600 plus pre-built automation actions. Our drag and drop functionality is unique because we do not require require developers to understand coding concepts. So we don't ask your business analyst to take a coding course on Python or Java. They only need to understand the business context, which is the numbers and the text, which is pretty much what the business analyst's role is. Compelling prices with unlimited scalability. We eliminate the #1 challenge organizations face of scaling RPA. We enable users to get started with RPA on a small scale for like 1 bot, and then we have solutions which cover 5 bots with orchestrations, and we offer an unlimited bots or all-you-can-eat model with unlimited bots and studios to unlock the possibility of what and where citizen developers can afford to automate. With subscription or perpetual licensing models as well, we can offer further flexibilities in where organizations are ready to start. So with that, in summary, HelpSystems is a financially stable, and Automate is a secure, mature RPA product. We help maximize the value of your investment, and they're looking at providers. You're looking at providers that can solve more than one problem. And through our broad range of solutions, we can offer a complementary suite of solutions backed by our strong financial footprint and proven leadership model as well. So as I mentioned, we've actually got a few flavors of Automate here. So the initial investment is in our Automate desktop. So that's just a single workstation and comes with what we call one studio, where you build your tasks, one bot and one server. Okay. And then we go into our yellow boxes here, which we've got is our Automate Enterprise architecture. Now this is our Plus and our Ultimate models. As we said, from the differences between the models here is we've got the no-code automation. We give you detailed operational analytics, so we can provide deep visibility to control of your workflows available from any device. We're completely scalable. You can deploy bots as attended or unattended with concurrent executions of tasks with no restrictions. So if you have our Ultimate model, what you can actually do is push your bots out into the field. And if need be, you can actually share and balance the load between multiple bots as well. So if you've got a process which requires a lot of CPU, you can actually arrange your bots to be shared so that when you go to those peak times, you're not having to deploy other bots in there as well. The business continuity, we've got obviously configurations with us for disaster recovery, a high availability, and clustered environments as well. And the most important part, which is what JC mentioned as well as Gideon, is our security and auditing. So being able to protect your information and stay compliant with a role-based access and detailed audit logs. So from that, you've got centrally coordinated process automation across one or more servers. So this is our licensing model here. So this is our Plus model. So you would have your database. Now that's a SQL database that you would install, and then you'd have your production server, and you've got the ability to push out 5 bots or agents, if you will, into that solution, and you've got your development studio for 2 developers. Now, when we say developers, as we said in the presentation, these are not necessarily developers as we would know them. These are business analysts and also IT people who help build those developments for your processes out. And then we have our unlimited licenses. Now, I can read out the list as you can see here, but we're talking unlimited bots, unlimited studios, 1 production instance, 1 non-production instance, and 1 HADR instance. So you can see here we've got 2 production instances here in a HADR standby model. And we've got unlimited bots that we're pushing out here and unlimited studios as well for you to develop more and more workflow processes. You also have a non-production instance where you can build your bots, and again, you have unlimited bots on your non-production side and studios as well to build out your tasks and workflows and provide a hands-off production migration from non-pod to production as well. Oops, I'm sorry, that jumped 2 slides there. So what I'm going to do now is I've got a couple of videos that I want to show you first. And then basically I'll come back to you and we'll have a bit more look at the processes moving forward. Thank you.
In this short video, I'm going to show you how we can use Automate to create a Microsoft Exchange email account and also update the Active Directory. So what I'm going to do here is I'm going to open up our Automate task. So the simple part of the task here is the first two steps. We create a password. So I've just got the password length to be 16. And the way we can do this in here is we can kind of specify a number of different characters, or we can do a specific pattern should that be required. And I'm just storing that in this variable, which you'll see down here below. I then open up the ECP, which is the Exchange admin portal, log on as myself, and then navigate through the fields required to create the account. And as you can see here, I've hard-coded the account name that I want in here, but we can automate that, getting that information from an external source should that be required. I then display a message showing the user's password at the bottom. So I'm just going to run through this process and you'll see the process kind of take place. So we're now opening up the admin account and I'm going to log on as myself automatically using the software. We then kind of would normally click on the plus button, but I'm actually going to navigate to a page that opens up in the same window. And then I'm going to select new user and start filling in the fields with the information. I'm then going to select through here to select the right organizational unit. Click OK and then fill the rest of the fields in and then click Save. Then I close the browser session down to keep everything tidy and then I display the password here. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to copy this password, click on OK, and then I'm going to go to my Exchange account here. So I've already pre-typed in the username and then I'm just going to paste that password in I set, click on sign in, and now it's come up with the kind of default settings that I want to change for a new account. So I can just click on here very quickly, set it to my time zone and click on save, and I've got a brand new mailbox created there for me. So let me just log out of there. So now what I want to do is go through and remove the account, but before I do that I'm just going to show you in here. So you'll see now that I've created a user called Automated Demo. So that's the user I just created. So my other task here is just to remove that account so we can go into reversal and take that account away. So again, I'm just going to run through this process and you'll see I log into the account with my own domain name and password again. And then I'm going to use the search feature here to search for the automated account. There should only be one with automated. And then I'm going to select that account and choose delete by clicking on that recycle bin option. Then close the browser down. And then if I just refresh here, you'll see that that automated demo one has disappeared. And now if I was to try and come into here and log in, it would tell me that the username or password is not correct because that account no longer exists.
Thank you. Okay, so I'm just going to come off this screen now, so bear with me one moment. You go back. Okay, so what I'm going to do now is I'm just going to go through and demonstrate some Automate features and functions here. Now, I'm just going to show you some differences, first of all, in Automate itself. Okay, so let me make my screen bigger so you guys can see that. Okay, so what we've got here, I'm just going to run through the basics of Automate here. So we've got this screen that you can see here on workflows. But what we actually have is what we call a repository. Okay, so I'm going to come back to workflows in a second. But what we've got here is what we call tasks. Okay, so a task is something that you might want to do for something to happen. So let me just open one of these and I can show you on one of these. Let's see. I'm going to edit this one. Give me one moment while the screen pops up. Pop up in a second or two. Here it goes. Okay, so this is your task viewer, your task builder, I'm sorry. So what you do here is you start putting in your script, as it were. And as you can see from this, you're basically just doing like creating a variable, looking at an image, cropping that image, you're running some application, in this case it's Word, and you can see I'm sending keystrokes. So I'm doing basically a human action here, or a humanized action to do something with it. Okay, and what I'm actually doing is cutting and pasting different information from our OCR engine into a formalized document. Okay, so this will show you exactly what's happening on here. And I just want to point out these 600 actions are all in here. So whether I want to do something with a EC2 instance, like an Amazon EC2 instance here, or I might want to do something with Azure storage, you know, if Azure storage is what you have. If I want to do something with Excel, I've got some actions in here to do with Excel. And you literally just say, I want to open and create a workbook. And you just pick it up. I'm just holding my mouse down and I'm dragging it in to where I want it to fit in my script. I let go. And what I get is a box here. And from here, I can open up a file name, like an Excel file, and then, you know, start working on it. You can see I've got other actions here, like I can add another worksheet, activate a worksheet. I can select some cells, or I can do it through actually just opening the workbook and then using keystrokes to actually do that action. I'm just going to cancel this because obviously it doesn't work inside the script. So, and that's really where the beauty of Automate is. So this is taking an action and doing something with a individual product. And that's what we call a task. What you end up with is, once you've actually configured all those, is you end up with lots and lots of these different tasks. So now, if we were looking at desktop, you would then run these tasks on the desktop. With enterprise, you can take that one step further, and that's really where workflows come in as well. So on a workflow, you can start saying, okay, so all of these tasks take up an action, but it's actually part of a bigger picture. Take an invoice processing as an example, or an employee onboarding as well as another example. So I've got one here which shows an employee onboarding, which I'm just going to show you. And you saw part of that, which is part of HelpSystems actually onboarding for employees. So I'm just going to edit this and talk you through the workflow. So this is slightly different because now what you're looking at here is a workflow designer. Now you've seen these little gray boxes before. We know that these are tasks, okay? So what I actually do here is to build this workflow. If I go out to here and I drop down my tasks, these are the tasks that we've had in the past. And if I want to use one of these, say, for example, I might want to check the AD expiry, all I need to do is click on my mouse, drag it across, and then link up my workflow. So I can, oops, missed that one. There we go. Not sure why it's going that way, but there we go. And I can actually set that up to then link to this AD expiry here. So that could be a success, but it doesn't necessarily need to be a success. It could also be a failure. So I'm just going to delete this one from here, and then I'm going to talk you through this process. So like every process, something needs to trigger a workflow. You know, it could be a file coming in, and it's just, in this instance, it's another one of HelpSystems products called WebDocs. So inside this process, though, for those WebDocs would be things like, imagine you're doing employee onboarding. So you're going to have their resume, you're going to have their payroll information, you're going to have information coming from, you know, where their bank account is, and so on and so forth. And this is where our WebDocs comes in. So all of those forms become a file group, and it will check to see what files are in there. If there is a problem, it will go to this failure task. Now, this failure task could be a human, what we call a human in the loop process, where it could go and say, oh, we're missing bank account details for employee X, for example. So payroll can be informed and they can come back and say, hey, you need to provide your payroll details. That can then be inputted separately outside of the process and come back into the workflow. But if everything is all there and everything is all good, then we can take these two success paths here. And we can say, okay, so we've got the payroll information, we've got the resume, we've got all the information that we need. And what we can then do is update our own web docs repository for that employee. So that could be my folder, for example, which has got my information in there of my payroll, my next of kin, and so on. And it can actually then follow to the next process. And you can see here, the next task is it actually goes into Active Directory and starts provisioning me as a new employee on the Active Directory user provisioning. Once that's created, it goes down to the ADP path, and then it sets up users on web applications. We have certain web applications in HelpSystems that we need to get access to for our health and well-being, etc. And then we've got our IBMI, which we still use as we are an IBMI company. That's how we started. We still have IBMI-based solutions for user provisioning. What happens then is that we can create a help desk ticket to say this person's been onboarded and here is his details. If you also wanted to, you could then create another ticket which could go to your IT department to say you need to order equipment for this new employee and he's starting on X date. The last part of the chain would be for an email to go to a manager with your user details. So that when you go and start your first day of work, what you'll have in front of you is your working desktop PC, whatever your IT flavor is. And also your manager will be able to give to you, say, hey, this is your login details and here's your initial login password to start with. So you can see we've taken what are complex IT tasks and we put it in a very simple, easy to understand workflow. I think there was a question coming in there, which we'll come on to in the end at the moment. So I'm just going to say no to that. And you can do that for any type employee. I mean, you've got here, I've got one here, for example, just to show you a difference, a very simple order reporting process, you know, where you've got a file that's a daily invoice file, and you can have just an order reporting process in there. We've got the report balancing. So if you've got invoicing again, you can actually run computational algorithms on here. So in this scenario here, an invoice report arrives from an email, or it could be on a file. So we've got two ways that we get information in. And you can see we actually save the open invoice. In other words, if it's an attachment, we'll take off the attachment and we might store that somewhere to look at later. Or it could come in as a file, which could be, again, just saving that daily invoice report from a file. But we've got to wait here. So in other words, what we're saying is both of these would have to be successful for us to pass through this wait here. Once it's got that information from both of those, whether it's email or from file or both, then it will check through those reports and will only be successful if the report's balanced. In other words, if the invoice coming in matches the invoice going out, then we can process the invoices. Or we can fail it and actually go into either a human in the loop, so process. In other words, somebody will have to go and have a look and actually ratify those invoices manually. But we could also then build that back in and actually say, but when that's been done, I want to connect to here as well. So once these processes done, it can then still process the invoice once those amendments have been made. So that's really just to show you how you can actually build these workflows out as well. So the rest of this is really more of an operational. So you do have what we call a dashboard view, which shows you this execution server, the CPU usages, and all of the recent things that have happened. You have a reporting engine inside Automate as well to provide you with reports. And the last one is just looking at the options here, where you're looking at your server settings, your default properties, and so on. So you're basically your operational, how your Automate actually works. I hope you've had a quick run through of Automate. I hope you've enjoyed that. And I'm now going to pass you back to JC for any questions.
So welcome back, everyone. So thanks, Ray, for those valuable inputs on Automate capabilities. Abdul Latif has asked about the security part on the straight-through processing for onboarding a new staff. If a hacker got access to the system, he can make havoc on the infrastructure. Is there a security measure in place?
Absolutely, yes. I mean, you can, there's a number of ways you can secure that. So in the employee onboarding one, the files could actually be in an encrypted way, which means, you know, unless you've got the private public keys, you can't get into those in the first place. And also each of the agents can also be securely pushed out. So all of the bots can actually only talk to the management console. So in the process that HelpSystem use, I'm not aware of any hacking attempts on those employee records, I have to say.
Hope that answers your question, Abdul. Going to a second question. How is Automate placed among competitors? I think Gideon can give an answer to that.
Yeah, thanks, JC. Again, really good question. Thank you for that. So, you know, there are obviously a number of tools in the automation space. The vast majority of the ones that most people go and look at, things like UiPath or Automation Anywhere, they're very good tools. There's nothing wrong with them whatsoever. The only thing that we would say, or I would say about that rather, is that they were absolutely designed for the large global enterprise. So whilst they have all the same functionality that Automate has, what we do know for a fact is that they are complex to implement. You have to be an expert in the actual application. There's a lot more coding that is required rather than the product being aimed at an IT competent professional. You actually have to program their solutions. We also know for a fact, because we've had customers that bought things like UiPath initially and then came to us, is that it takes a long time to roll out the projects. You pay a lot of money on professional services, consultancy work. Projects take in between 3 to 18 months rather than a day or two from our perspective. And the biggest thing about it is that the cost to enhance and to progress. So if you look at the initial cost like for a HelpSystems solution to a starting point for UiPath, for example, we would be somewhere around 30 to 40% less. However, that will give you 5 bots. If you then decided that you wanted 100 bots or 500 bots, you know, that's where the price differentiation goes into millions of dollars. So, you know, they're very good products. They're aimed at large enterprise. They're priced accordingly. They're complex. And if you can justify the initial trial costs, that's one thing. But if you actually ask them, okay, now I want to have 500 bots, how much is that going to cost me? That's when you'll come and definitely want to talk to Automate. JC, any more questions?
Thank you, Gideon, for that. And I go to one more question. Can Automate read invoices with watermark? Over to you, Ray.
Yes, it can. So with the basic watermarking, things like draft or finals or any of those kind of watermarks, yes, it can get picked up from those. And you will be able to read those in via our OCR type capabilities for looking at those invoices.
I see. Thank you. And another question, what type of processes can be automated using RPA? How many processes at a time one bot can execute? That's
Okay,
for Milind.
yeah,
Yeah.
I'll take that one as well, JC. Yes, look, that's another difference, as Gideon was just mentioning there about our competitors and also the bots. The way we've constructed our bots is they can actually do concurrent tasks as well. So it's not a bot in the true sense of the word, as in normally a bot is one process, one thing. That's why we get confused when people see we call them as agents rather than bots. So they can actually run concurrent tasks, but it would really depend on what your use case is for that, because you'd have to scale the task completely. You can also group bots together, as I was mentioning before. You can actually, if you know you've got a process that maybe is quite intensive at certain parts of the day, you can actually grow your bot farm to actually take resources from another local bot to actually balance out that work as well. So we've built in functional capabilities for scalability. And I think that's also a difference with some other products on the market, where we can scale not only from the server side, but we can also scale from the bot side, which is pretty unique, I believe, in the industry.
I see. Thanks, Ray, for that. There's one more question. Do you have any use case for automation of the server on Linux or Windows, security hardening and patching?
We certainly would have those type of details. I should also point out, actually, JC, sorry, I did miss one part of my presentation. If I can just take just a couple of seconds of your time as well, because I did say to you that HelpSystem has been doing some work around helping businesses on their RPA journey. Sorry, let me just escape out of this. And that was our bot store. So what we did was we looked at our bot store. So this is really talking more about the scalability here. And as you can see, what we've actually got is a series of bots for a series of different products. So for example, if I was to click SQL Server here, it would go away and it would find all of those bots. Now, these are free to people for download in the bot store. And you've got similar tasks inside here. So if you want to export tasks from a database to an AML file, you can just click on the bot here and it gives you full details of what it's actually going to do. You can obviously download the bot, but there's also an implementation and configuration guide. And we've developed all of these and they not only came from HelpSystems, some of these actually came from our customers as well, who said, yes, we can actually look at the store and we can actually use these bots in our store for others to use. So it's part of our support offering as well. So it's not just talking about what the bot can do, but we're also looking at what else we can actually do with bots to make your journey and your RPA journey easier, and to get you started quicker as well.
Thanks for that, Ray. We plan to show a video on SAP because that is something I had confirmed to the people who are joining. So Tevin, if you can just add in that video and then Ray can talk about it. Yes, Ray?
Yep, I can try. I'll do my best in SAP.
Okay.
Welcome to the RPA video series from HelpSystems. Today we're going to be demonstrating an SAP inventory workflow. In this example, we start the workflow with a calendar trigger. It then activates a workflow task which opens the web graphical user interface for SAP. Using a shortcut SE38, it will open the ABAP editor and it will also enter the program Z variant. Selecting the sub-object variant and clicking change, entering the variant HS test 6 and clicking change, and it will also rename the variant attribute. It then exits the GUI and moves on to the next step. The SAP inventory is now updated with the following step. It FTPs the files to the FTP site and then emails the appropriate staff a full inventory report. Notice also that if an error occurs, it will notify staff via SMS text. Thank you for watching RPA in Action from HelpSystems.
Okay, so I guess need me to, I think I heard that quite clearly. So you can see from an SAP perspective, again, those processes are really seamless and really easy to follow.
Welcome
And
to
that's
the video series from Help.
okay, and welcome to everybody else as well. So yeah, so the SAP systems is, and as you can see in the bot store, there are some other SAP type ones available already just out of the box that you can download and use as well. JC?
All right. So thank you. I believe there's no other questions. So we have come to the end of our presentation. If there are any questions, you can contact us. The last slide of the presentation, please, at my email address and telephone number is there at the end of the presentation. Ray, if you can share the last slide.
I will just do that now.
Yeah, thank you.
Okay.
So in short, automation is capable of doing any task on the system that a person can do. It mimics what the person is doing on his processes, and we put it in a task and make the workflow to get the process going. So that's all from us. Hope the session was useful. We have a survey when you log off. Please fill in the survey and contact us for any further details that you require. Thank you. Goodbye. Take care.